the outreach attorney for St. John's. This webinar, as a disclosure, will be recorded. So by you continuing to stay on the webinar, you're consenting our access to be the webinar be recorded. So this is an introduction to estate planning. It's a webinar meant for informational purposes only. And it's about our Leaving a Legacy program. And it's a program that is offered by Beth Sedek and St. John's through funding from the American Rescue Plan in coordination with the Los Angeles Consumer and Business Affairs Department. And the whole purpose of this program is to provide access to meaningful estate planning services to LA County residents that are eligible and meet the requirements for our program. I will speak about the eligibility requirements at the end of the presentation, but in essence, it is a program with this goal to preserve generational wealth by providing these essential tools that everybody should have. Okay, and as you could see down at the logos below, Beth Sedek is another provider of these services. And in conjunction with St. John's, we will be able to hopefully reach a lot of LA County residents that need these services. Okay, and this is a little bit of information of an important entity, which is the Los Angeles County of Consumer and Business Affairs. And what they do is it serves consumers, businesses, and communities through the education and advocacy, complaint resolution. And their mission is to create a fair and vibrant marketplace for consumers and businesses by assisting in the following areas. And as you can see, it's various subjects: consumer counseling, small businesses, dispute resolution, etc. And the Los Angeles County Center for Financial Empowerment, which is directly helping us provide these services and setting up this program. What it does is it advocates and builds the capacity to strengthen the financial health for county residents with a focus on Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And this is to build economic resiliency. And this is a disclaimer that we are required to give in California. And it's all attorneys have to give this. This presentation is prepared for informational purposes only. The information presented does not create an attorney-client relationship, and it's not considered legal advice or a substitute for anybody listening to get legal advice from an attorney. Any person who sees this information should not solely rely on it without first consulting an attorney. And this is really important because we as individuals have certain needs that are particular to our existence, to ourself. And this is why we will go into why you need an estate plan, very particularly drafted to you. We will also talk about what is estate planning. Then we'll talk about the word probate and what it involves. And this is just to give you an overview, not talk about its intricacies. And we'll talk about the essential estate planning documents and some of these documents that we will be able to provide through the Leaving a Legacy program that will be absolutely free to our qualifying LA County residents. So those are our topics. I hope I make this interesting and simple so everyone can understand it. And again, questions will be reserved for the end in the chat. I have Cynthia Wu, who is our senior estate planning attorney, and she might be able to answer some of these questions. And again, they have to be general. They cannot be specific. Specific questions will be probably addressed in a session in private with Cynthia or another attorney at Beth Sedek to discuss your personal needs. Okay, so our first slide talks about why do you need an estate plan? Why is it so essential? And why it has also been out of reach for so many people. So the questions you should ask: do you own property? Do you own a house? Do you own a car? Do you have, the special earrings, some type of heirloom that was passed on to you? Do you have any children? And are you over 18? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you need an estate plan. And why do you need an estate plan? And it sounds so foreign. And it's because all of these entities of property, having children, and being over 18 requires some sort of planning. As we speak right now, we're entering a holiday season, and I am sure you have planned something for end of the year, for Christmas, for Hanukkah, for any celebration during this time. But most people don't think about an estate plan and how it's essential and necessary as we continue to go day by day. So, what does estate planning help you with? So, the whole purpose is to leave a legacy. A lot of people think that only millionaires, only people with a lot of money need a plan. But in reality, all of us need a plan. Um, and I will talk about the specifics of why and what may be applicable to you depending on your situation in future slides. However, what an estate plan does, it's just a plan that helps you in case of an incapacity or with the inevitable, which is, passing away in, leaving a lot of unresolved or possibly leaving unresolved issues with your property and your family. So what it could do, if you have minor children, an estate plan, and based on the instrument that we will possibly draft, it will nominate guardians for your minor children. So it creates a voice for you when you're not around or you can't do it. It also protects the interest of children with special needs or needs or relatives that have a sort of special needs. You will be drafting a plan for them to help take care of them once you're no longer around. What it also does, it smooths the transitions for your family after death. I know that everyone has heard about stories of when someone passes away and dies and they leave their family to unscramble issues that could have possibly been dealt with when the person was alive and now in addition to the grief that the family is feeling, now they have to sort out that person, that loved one's businesses. So having a plan helps not completely eliminate it, but it would help ease in that. And also, they're having a plan, and in particular, a trust that we'll talk about in future slides. If you own assets more than $184,000 in California, you will probably have to go through probate, and you will be able to avoid that if you have a plan in place that will address those issues. So that's what a plan could possibly help with. And it's not, again, inclusive, but those are some of the things to consider. So one of my favorite quotes is if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And like I mentioned earlier, most people fear planning for the inevitable and for unfortunate situations. But this is a chance, and this is a service that is now going to be accessible for a lot of people that didn't know about it, and a lot of people that possibly couldn't afford it. This is a service that is now available through our Leaving a Legacy program. And we will be hopefully helping lots of Angelinos. But don't be scared. This is something that most of us don't do or most of us don't think about, but we are here to help you think about these difficult situations and also help you plan for them. Got muted. Okay, so what documents may help you, right? So what normally when you think of an estate plan, if you've ever even thought about an estate plan, what comes to mind is a will, a living trust, and while you're incapacitated, while you're alive, you might have heard of a medical advance directive or a power of attorney. But these are essential tools that in general talk about planning. if you haven't done so already. So these are the documents that may help you. These are documents that Leaving a Legacy will be able to provide. And for the purposes of this informational meeting, we will also be discussing like what they are and in general what they mean. Okay, so not having a plan. So, and I like to give an example on what it would be if you don't have a plan. If you don't have a plan, for a lot of things, many things can go wrong. But in this case, I'm going to use the most common name, which is Mary. Let's say that Mary has a house and she dies without a living trust, which is the most general example. Well, what happens in this case for Mary, her estate, meaning her house and whatever she owns, goes into probate. And what is probate? So probate in general, just so we have an idea, it's the legal process for reviewing the assets of a deceased person and determining who will inherit those assets. So that's the general term of what a probate is. And in reality, it's just a long legal court process. And why is probate such a scary word for most people? One, it's because it takes a long time. And these are some of the steps, right? First, you would have to go into court, file all the necessary paperwork. And as we all know, these forms, even if you file to renew a driver's license, it normally is very tedious work and it takes a long time. Can you imagine now going into an unknown territory where you're filing a probate for your house, for your loved one's house? After that, you would have to give notice to heirs and creditors, so it takes out the privacy aspect of your inheritance. Then the court will, at that point, that could be possibly a month, the court gives you an authority to act and start processing this probate. It's at this point that the court will then identify and value all of the estate's assets. Then the creditors get paid first, and then finally, that whatever is left gets distributed to your loved ones, to the people who will inherit. But just as a disclosure, it seems like it's 6 easy steps. However, these can take a very long time. One famous person who died intestate, meaning without a plan, meaning with a lot of assets but no trust or really nothing for the court to go off, was Prince. His estate took years to settle. And I don't know exactly the time, but it was years for anybody to be able, his relatives, his beneficiaries, to touch any of his assets. So again, probate takes a very long time. Again, another problem is that probate is very expensive. So in Mary's example that I presented earlier, and this is with numbers from 2020, let's say her house that she had, it was worth $1 million. And again, this is the gross estimation. So she could still have a mortgage on this house that needs to be taken into consideration to pay off. But in reality, the court sees the $1 million as how much she has. So based on the $1 million, they charge a percentage of the $1 million to determine what the attorney fees will be, what the personal representative fee will be, and then they also you have to pay the attorney fees and the appraisal fees and the cost and publication fees. So just to round up, for Mary Mary's estate to process this $1 million house, it will cost her about $48,000. And this is huge because at this point, she could have avoided this $48,000 if she had put her house in a living trust, for example. So Mary's estate could have avoided this fees had she had a plan in place before. So going back to what Mary can do now, because this is an assumption, right? We're all Marys. So she could possibly get a will. So this, with her particular situation, won't take her out of probate. The will itself, with that amount of assets, would still need to go through probate to determine the validity of the will, and it would also need to, she would also need to, they would also go into the long process of determining who will inherit her house. So, however, the will does, it's a court document, and it would use it to, it's a legal document, and the court will use that as her voice to see who will get her assets. And if Mary has any minor children, it would also nominate who will be the guardian of these kids in case the other parent is not available. And there are also other aspects of her life or other property that wasn't funded in the trust. The will also help determine where these assets could go. So Mary could get a will to straighten out other aspects of her life. She could have also gotten a revocable living trust. So a revocable living trust is a contract that I'll talk about in the future, but it's revocable. That means that you can make changes at any time while you're alive, obviously, and you can take property out, you can take property in, and it holds your property for your benefit while you're alive and for the benefit of others when you pass away. But circling back to Mary's example and to people in California that own assets more than 184,000, it avoids probate. And we all just learned about why that is something we need to avoid. So how does a living trust work? So it's a contract, it's a trust agreement. It nominates settlers and trustees and beneficiaries. While you're alive, it is normally you who are in charge of this. And when you pass away, you nominate somebody else to help administer your assets. So we talked about the two documents, which were a will and a trust. And in general, we talked about what they mean, and those are instruments that will help once you're no longer around, once you pass away. However, another important aspect of planning for life is having two important documents. It's an advanced medical healthcare directive and a power of attorney. These documents everyone should have, because you can never plan for life and the unexpected. So if you get into a car accident or there's an unexpected illness, you would need to have these two important documents to better guide your choices. And again, it's to leave a voice. And these are documents that we will be able to provide through our Leaving a Legacy program. Okay, so the first document that we're going to talk about is an advanced healthcare directive. So what this document does, it grants authority in advance to somebody that you trust to handle all of your healthcare needs. So it is your voice to pass down to your medical providers, and it's also letting them know what you would like to have in terms of treatment options, in terms of long-term care. And it's basically a legal document that you can also change and amend at any time while you have the capacity to do so. So whoever goes into a hospital or for a long, surgery, sometimes these documents are offered. But what if you get into an accident and you haven't really thought about this? This advanced healthcare directive would help keep in mind everything that relates to your medical needs and your healthcare needs in case of an unexpected illness and in case of incapacity. This document also talks about what would happen to you if you died. and you died at a hospital. It will address, it can address whether you want to be an organ donor or not. It would also give a clause to tell people if you want to be cremated or what your burial or what those arrangements could be. So this is an essential tool that can help plan, and it will save a lot of headaches for people that are going to be your family, that are going to possibly be making these choices in case you're in a situation where you're in a hospital and incapacitated. The next essential document is a durable power of attorney. So this document grants the authority in advance to someone that you trust to handle your financial affairs in the event of incapacity or when you're not available. What I mean when you're not available is not if you pass away. What I mean by this is that, let's say you leave the country. This document, and you get stuck on vacation somewhere or something unexpected happens, but you need somebody to close a bank account, withdraw money, deposit money. This durable power of attorney grants that person that you trust that authority. This document you can cancel whenever you want at any time, but it provides things that you may not have thought about, which is help filing taxes. It helps paying taxes. It can manage your bank accounts. It's a very flexible tool, but it also is it's a very important tool that you only should give to somebody that you trust. So I think that the most difficult part of having or creating a durable power of attorney is finding that trusted person that you trust with your affairs. Okay. And let me go back just to recap and talk about a essential document for your estate plan that Leaving a Legacy will be able to provide. You will be able to possibly get a will that will help if you have minor children, or if you have assets that are not in your trust. The will give somebody a direction as to how you want those assets distributed. We also talked about a trust. In this case, I just wrote trust, but we're talking about a revocable living trust. We talked about its benefits. We talked about how in California, this document is essential, especially if you own a house and you want to preserve it and avoid the long process and also avoid these fees. And the purpose of the program is also with this document to preserve generational wealth. Another important document that anybody should have, regardless of assets, regardless of whether you have a car you want to pass down to your son, it's an advanced health directive. And we talked about how this document is essential because it leaves a voice for your doctors and your loved ones to know what type of treatment you want. And then we just talked about a durable power of attorney, which is an essential tool in case you cannot make these decisions. And also the durable power of attorney will help in cases that you're, like I said, out of the country and you need somebody to be that representative for you. Okay, so going back to our program that I've been raving about to everyone that listens or meets me, it's our Leaving a Legacy program, and it's eligibility. They, like I said, this program was created in order to help LA County residents, one, be aware that an estate plan is essential and it's needed, and everyone should have some sort of plan, it being for your health or for your assets. So the program eligibility is you need to reside in LA County in the highest or high need areas. There is a map that you will be able to see in the website that I'll provide at the end, whether you are qualifying based on where you live. And that's the number one requirement. The number two requirement is be at or under the 80% area median income. The website also provides a link to give you the bracket of, based on your family size and income, whether you meet the income requirement. And if you want a service like a trust, like a living trust, and you want to put the house in the trust, well, the requirement is that you must be the legal owner of your property. What I mean by legal owner is that if you bought your house and your dad or your sibling is on title with you, they will also need to qualify because they're the legal owners of the house, and that you by yourself cannot make these changes. So everybody that needs the service, that's a legal owner that's on title of this house, will also need to come in and try to change or change the property into the trust. So those are the three requirements. But for leaving a legacy, for advanced health directives, for power of attorneys, and even a will, as long as you meet the first two requirements, please contact us. We will see if you're eligible. We will counsel and advise you to see what plan is the best for you. Again, like I said at the beginning, everybody is a unique individual, and as such, you need a unique plan. And with these services that are finally made accessible to people that need it, you will be able to get that. You will be able to get to talk to an attorney to provide your situation. You may have a house, a child, a relative with special needs that you are guardian of, and you want to address these issues. This plan will be tailored for you. Who knows, you may be eligible for all four. You may be eligible, you have a house, you have a child, you have other property, you will get a will, a trust, an advanced health directive, all if you're eligible. So I'm trying to spread the word to encourage every Angelino to apply. And if you do, you will get these incredible services like that I mentioned earlier, are essential and everybody needs them. And again, you will, with having a plan, you protect your legacy. You'll get peace of mind knowing that you took care of something that you probably procrastinated on, that maybe you didn't know on, or maybe you knew a little bit of, but now you'll be able to have a plan and be able to say to yourself, okay, at least that aspect of my life is taken care of. So see if you qualify by filling out an intake form, either with St. John's or Bethesda, and we will contact you to, guide you through the eligibility requirements to see what the next steps would be. So this is my name and my email, my phone number. Contact me. We can have, a chat about eligibility, about our program. This is the website where it leads you to more direction. And if you want a QR code that you can scan and it'll open right into your browser, your phone, it'll also give you a direct link. So now we will open up the chat to general questions, either about the program, about wills, about something that you didn't know. And that is the end of the substance of my presentation. I didn't really want to make it a class where it's bored. I wanted to, get the tip of the iceberg so you understood that these services are available and they're essential for everyone. So if we have any questions, just put them in the chat and we can. Yeah, you can unmute yourself or put them in the chat. And one more thing, I will have this presentation in Spanish in the afternoon. If you know anybody that would want to listen in. And the presentation is at 4 p.m. and again, it's via webinar. We will also be having in-person live presentations and workshops throughout this year. So we'll leave it open a few minutes, and if nobody has questions. I think we're good. And one more thing, Bedsetic left, they also did a very informative webinar, and you can access it on, you can look it up at the DCBA YouTube page, and they went into detail about a lot of trust and will aspects, and they also provided additional information. So if you want to take a look at that one, that's also a great resource. Okay, well, since there are no questions and we waited a couple minutes, I wanted to thank everyone for your time, and hopefully this was helpful, and spread the word because we're willing and eager to provide these services for everyone. Okay, thank you so much.